You're listening to the Tamar Yonah Show here at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Boy, it has been a very busy week in the Middle East. All right, well, we're going to be speaking to Mudar Zahran. He's a Jordanian politician and the head of Jordan's opposition coalition. He is a frequently published writer, and he's a former senior officer for the U.S. Department of State through their embassy in Amman, Jordan. And you can find him on Twitter at Mudar_Zahran. And we will put that on the page where the show is podcasted. I want to welcome to the show Mudar Zahran. Mudar, do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Tamar.
Okay, very good. All right, so we know that you're an activist for a lot of Jordanian people who want to see King Abdullah out and see more of a democracy and a friendlier ally, a friendlier neighbor for Israel. And I'll let you talk about that. But I want to first ask you about, since you're an Arab and you understand the Arab mentality and you are friendly to Israel, and seeing all that's happening now with the Hamas in the south, with the Hezbollah in the north, and with now things really heating up, what are your feelings about what's happening, and what do you think is the right thing to do?
First of all, thank you for having me, and please allow me to correct that in the case of Jordan, we think democracy has to be gradual and has to go concurrent with the changing of mindset and re-education and de-radicalization. That said, I think it's an opportunity to share with the listeners the facts about what's going on the ground. I no longer work for the U.S. Department of State. I no longer work with the U.S. government, but I'm connected to people in a lot of places and establishments. And let's just say these are what my very trusted sources are saying about the situation in Gaza. The situation in Gaza when it comes to military action is basically almost done, almost finished. Hamas now has less, as in combat-capable fighters, has less than 800 combat-capable fighters. There are people, terrorists all over the place who are willing to pick a gun in Gaza and kill Israelis and shoot at Israeli soldiers, but those do not pose a problem to the IDF. The ones who could be a problem, the ones with the RPGs and the tactics, are really at best 1,000, and that's a very generous estimate. Nonetheless, politics are usually stronger than military. And right now, Gaza is on the back burner. It's not going to be finished overnight. The biggest issue here is Israel doesn't want any further casualties. They are like Hamas are now cornered, whatever's left of them are cornered in the following area, and you can write it down. One, there's a pocket of Hamas of less than 180 fighters active in the northern district of Gaza. And in Rafah, there is, scattered up to 600, which is plenty, and they are very, very well hidden behind civilians and Palestinian public in general. Israel is hunting them down slowly using drones and using intelligence. What's helping Israel is now the public in Gaza are willing to cooperate. And I can authoritatively tell you, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but a lot of the information lately, in the past 2 months, a lot of the Hamas terrorists have been located with the help of Gazans willing to cooperate, and that's a whole different chapter on why they were cooperating. But that said, they also have had enough of Hamas. In addition, there has been a lot of Israeli casualties, a lot of men and women killed and hurt. So if they go right after the last pocket of Hamas, it's going to cost a lot of people. So they're grilling them slowly. Might not be impressive with what many people want. Might not be what many soldiers want because they wanted the job done. They wanted Hamas annihilated overnight. Well, politics take a different toll with the media and Western forces protecting Hamas in many cases. It's very complicated. Now, the biggest show, if I may, Tama, is with Hezbollah. Let me be clear. Hezbollah is not actually its own entity. Hezbollah is just, a facade for Iran. So those attacking Iran, Iranian rocket engineers, Iranian military personnel and experts. So Iran is attacking from the north. The issue is Iran cannot afford a war with Israel. I hope I'm not saying too much in public, but I think I can disclose this. Some time ago, we're talking a good 3 months ago, Israel conveyed to the Americans a message to Iran, which was conveyed to via Switzerland. The message was delivered via the Swiss embassy in Tehran, which is, de facto American embassy in Tehran. The Americans use the Swiss embassy. So the Swiss intelligence department or body conveyed to the Iranians that Iran warned that if long-range missiles that Hezbollah had not used against Israeli targets, Israel will automatically engage Iran. Why does Iran not want that? First, because of the military capabilities that Israel has, which is unsurpassed in the region. Two, because Iran's mentor or master is China. Most people do not, again, this is a whole new different subject. Most people do not realize how vested in the area China is. Most people don't realize the connection between China and Iran, China and Jordan, China and Syria, China and Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Egypt. And once you see who are the players, U.S. versus China, and you understand that Israel is in the American camp, you begin understanding who is who. So China doesn't want the war with Iran because war with Iran would, disrupt its trade with the Arab Gulf into a very unprecedented fashion and disrupt its oil imports. So Iran can kill a few Israeli civilians on the borders and Israeli soldiers, but could never inflict any serious harm on Israel. Is it good times? No, these are not good times. War can never be a good time for any nation. But the level of threat for generally the Israeli nation, the Jewish state, is not unsurpassed or unprecedented. Some people are trying to tell you that, the sky is going to fall tomorrow. Iran could never inflict the wounds that they say they could inflict. I am not worried, and to be honest, I'm sure that a lot is happening. But there's one aspect we need to be honest about, that Israel has been left with the task of picking up the trash. The trash was created by a lot of players, Arab countries, Western governments, several U.S. administrations created, empowered Iran, tolerated Hamas, even got involved in creating Hamas. And it's left that the Jewish boy is left with cleaning up after everyone else, which is unfair. But, it is what it is. For now, I'm very optimistic about what's going on, as painful as it is.
All right, let me ask you this: with Hezbollah bombing Israel right now and Israel's response, and this following the whole beeper explosions, do you think Israel's on the right track? And what I mean, you're Arab. I assume you're reading the Arab press. What is the feeling from the Arab press? Are people afraid to use their phones now? Are people respecting Israel or fearing Israel, or just want blood from Israel? What's the feeling?
Never in my lifetime have I seen Arabs cheering for Israel before this. The majority, including Palestinians in Jordan, are cheering and celebrating for what happened to Hezbollah.
They're cheering in Jordan. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Jordan, Egypt. I can send you videos if you wish.
Why?
Even some people in the West Bank, believe it or not, celebrating what Israel did to Hezbollah, because Hezbollah, first of all, there's a sectarian hatred. Before, and it's complicated, but before what happened in Syria in 2011, before the Syrian civil war, The Arabs used to think of Hezbollah as a savior. Hezbollah was the only one able to kill Israelis and kick Israel's tochas while no one else could. And people, thought of this Nasrallah, the leader, as God. After Syria, they learned the truth when Hezbollah began butchering Syrian civilians just because they're Sunni. Hezbollah ventured into Yarmouk refugee camp in Damascus and killed dozens of Palestinian children just because they were Sunni children. So they realized that the hatred is still real between Sunnis and Shiites. And the Shiite majority embodied by the Iranian leadership is very hateful of us. So now that Israel is kicking their butts, a lot of Arabs are enjoying this and rejoicing it. And my Israeli friend, Professor Eddie Cohen, he told me he also watched videos of Arabs celebrating and passing out desserts when Hezbollah got killed. Now, what's the difference between what Israel is doing right now and what Israel is doing in the past? In the past, and I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but the school of wars was always dependent on heavy use of technology and heavy use of very expensive stuff. Wherever you go to war, wherever Israel goes to war, factories all over the world get engaged in business. So they use deployment of technology, deployment of soldiers, which was very ineffective. Israel changed the policy just after the 7th of October into targeting the head of the snake, which is something I personally have been talking about even on your show several times, that we can go for the head of the snake. Arab societies, which I hate to say that many of you don't understand, are hierarchy societies. It's all about the leader. The leader plays God. Once the leader's gone, you can never find a proper replacement anytime easy. An example of that is Arafat. After Arafat passed away, the PLO never recovered. And in this case, they went, the 3,000 people whose pagers had the little bomb. I think the intel we got suggests that we're talking up to 70-something major leaders, like colonel ranking. That's very high. Let me be clear, many people looking from afar would think of it as a farce. Like, what the hell? We kill some, they give us some rockets, and we respond. And when is this going to end? Well, it's going to end because Hezbollah now has an enemy which it never thought it was going to face again. Hezbollah has a population in Lebanon that wants to take it out. 2006 war, the average Lebanese was not so angry with Hezbollah. So I can share with you a secret, which is Israel's policy to kill Hezbollah, making Hezbollah bleed to death, not engaging in total war, and making Hezbollah bleed to death with the pressure from within. The Sunni Lebanese want Hezbollah gone. The Palestinian Lebanese, even though they're not the majority, they're less than 1 million people, but they still are armed to the teeth and they hate Hezbollah because they have a history of Amal killing and butchering Palestinians in the 80s. And the Christians hate Hezbollah with a passion. All of those people have weapons, but they don't have leadership, and they can always impose a huge pressure on Hezbollah because Hezbollah is in charge of the government and people, the standard of living, the livelihood, the economy has collapsed. And therefore, Hezbollah is going to be forced into a worse economy for Lebanon, more boycotts, more economic sanctions. I think the big, the death certificate could be issued for Hezbollah within the next 2 years, but not before that. During that time, I expect that Israel will keep killing major names in the Hezbollah upper echelon. And it's sad, difficult for people who couldn't sleep last night, including my friend who lives in the north. But it is what it is, and sorry, you got to break an egg to make an omelet.
Mudar, let me ask you this really quickly. There have been things going around the social media saying it shows a picture of what is supposedly stationary from the Hezbollah, giving out the supposed real numbers of people who were killed and injured by the beeper explosions, which are much, much higher than what's been reported by the Lebanese Ministry of Health to the media. Do you think that the Hezbollah is lying, or do you think that that's just fake news going around?
Well, I can never trust anything coming from Hezbollah, but we are not concerned about the average Joe who got killed by the beeper. I understand the heavy hitters, who were killed are 70-something, exactly 72. So maybe they're probably waiting for exactly 72 virgins waiting for them. But 72 leaders, I can say that again, affirmative, 72 Hezbollah leaders in the ranking of colonel, between a major and a colonel, got killed in the operation. That's a very high hit. Those people get trained in Iran. They are combat tested. They've trained. They've fought in Syria. So God forbid, imagine if you get 72 Israeli colonels and majors killed in one day in Israel. That would be a hit to the RDF.
So then you're saying that the Hezbollah is lying, that they're hiding the real numbers?
Absolutely. And there was some Iranian intelligence and military intelligence officers who perished in the same operation. This is not the last of a kind operation. It involved much more than it meets the eye, which anyone can expect. It's a very complicated operation. And it was actually, there's a lot that I'm not above my pay rate to disclose, but it's not going to be the last one. I'll leave you in this note. The Western forces plus the evil Western forces, not the Western forces, the evil globalist Western forces, plus the China players in the Middle East, have long benefited from the Arab-Israeli conflict and have long, harvested the fruits of the ongoing unrest. The tools that were used were three major tools, which is the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan, where Jordan houses the HQ for the Global Muslim Brotherhood Organization, the Hezbollah and Hamas is, I've told you before on this show, Hamas officially in the hierarchy is quote-unquote the Palestine chapter of the Jordanian Muslim Brotherhood. Those three have been very, very instrumental in helping the globalist forces creating the balagan we can see in the region. Right now, they are being taken out one by one. Israel is not alone in this operation, but sadly, the active ones in your grounds are your boys and your girls, your men and women, and they deserve praise for that, for fighting on behalf of everyone else in the region.
Matt, do you have a question for Mudar?
Well, just want to shift to Jordan for a minute, because through this conflict, at least the last several months, we read in the news here about almost nightly protests in Amman against Israel, calling for, Jewish blood. We've had terror attacks coming across the Jordan border, almost nonstop attempts at weapons smuggling. So, at what is there any concern of that border deteriorating during this conflict?
Well, listen, there's nothing to be concerned about because it's already here. So whatever we've been afraid of is already all over Jordan. I have been on your colleague's show for the good part of the past 12 years, I think, 10 years, I forgot, since 2014. And since then, I've always been, and she can tell you, and go back to her archive, I've been warning that the king of Jordan, his policies are going to move the country into absolute trouble and turn the country into a beehive to terrorists. Well, it's already there. The anti-Israeli protest every night before the Israeli embassy, I have documented, read my piece in the American Thinker about that, about the protests in Jordan. They were orchestrated by the Jordanian government itself. You watch the official Jordanian media. The official Jordanian media is calling for jihad. The Muslim Brotherhood's own TV is allowed in Jordan. They have the HQ in Jordan, Yarmouk TV. The Jordanian television, it's another Al Jazeera, inciting people. Jordan is not Israel. If they don't want you to protest somewhere, they will arrest you before you get out. And even if you go there, the Israeli embassy, which I have been to several times in Amman, have been inside several times, is in an area where it's easy to cut the connections, block the roads, and not allow anyone to go near it. Well, it's the Jordanian police who open the roads, and we have that themselves. So people will be protesting, kill the Jews, with the Jordanian police standing next to them. All, include the head of the Jordanian intelligence, also who happened to be the Jordanian ex-prime minister. All Jordanian officials, current officials and ex-officials, are calling for Jewish blood, not even Israeli blood, not even Zionist blood, Jewish blood. You all you have to do is just Google and look on YouTube the last 5 interviews that six different interviews by Queen Rania of Jordan. She was talking like ISIS against Israel, literally that Jews kill children, that Israelis kill civilians, bombing. And right from the White House's podium, the King of Jordan, right next to President Biden, said the most atrocious things about Israel, and even warned that Israel should never attack Rafah. This was a few months ago, right from the White House's podium. You need to accept it. I've warned a long time ago, the King of Jordan is aligned with Iran. Who is Iran? Iran is aligned with the China faction. Who is the China faction? The China faction is the George Bush Senior faction in the George Bush Senior School in Washington, which hates Israel, favors empowering China and Iran. That school is Dick Cheney, Ramfield, all those, all those flamboyant names. They have been, it's like an ideology, what they're doing, and they are the ones who wrecked up the whole region. That said, you can do your research into that, but I'll finish in this note. That the weapons smuggling caught in huge weapons smuggling caught at the borders last year by Jordanian Knesset member, Jordanian congressman. He was the king's personal friend. Nobody deals weapons in Israel. This is not Israel. Jordan is not Israel. Jordan is an ultimate police state. You don't trade weapons using government vehicles unless the king knows about it, unless the king has allowed it. And let me also add to you this final thing. Tol Karam, the refugee camp of Tol Karam, Jenin, Balata, which is Shem, Nablus, those are considered Jordanian intelligence strongholds. The militants there get paid by the Jordanian intelligence. If anyone is claiming this is a conspiracy theory, if anyone is claiming that they just have an axe to grind, get any of them, ex or current security officers with honesty on your show and ask them if it's true. Evidence, the first time Israeli IDF killed a Palestinian militant in Tulkarem, which was 9 months ago, in his funeral, they were chanting Allahu Akbar and waving Jordanian flags, not Palestinian flags. Jordan accepted is an enemy. The government of Jordan is an enemy of Israel for good reason. They are aligned with a completely different camp. Now, the people you bring, because they don't want to sound controversial, or because they have some inner interest with Jordan, they can't say that. You can bring anyone who knows that. Behind closed doors, you listen to this. I've spoke to people in all 3 major security agencies in the country. And they all knew what Jordan is about. None of them can say it publicly. Bottom line is, in Jordan, expect the unexpected. Trouble is already there. And the guy who killed 3 Israeli workers at the borders is being hailed by the Jordanian state media as a hero. In addition, very few of you realize he was a military personnel. He's an ex-soldier from a tribe that's the closest to the king of Jordan.
Right.
I've been warning, I'm going to finish on this note. I've been warning about Jordan deteriorating for a decade, and now it's here. Thank you for your time, and God bless you all, and protect you and protect your country. And let's pray for peace and for sovereignty for both people, the self-describing Palestinians like me, Jordanians, and the Israelis, each in a different country with the river in between. Thank you so much.
Mudar, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate hearing your views. Thank you so much. All right, and we will leave a link on our page where the show is podcasted if you want to follow him. And that was Mudar Zahran, and thank you very much.